Welcome back, dear friends, to our series on conflict management. Our victory last episode, in which we reached repair and discovered semi-supervised learning along the way, led us to a key milestone, acknowledging just how important the relationship is to us. Our desire to repair things revealed the importance to safeguard the respective connection and the common goals attached to it. However, the motive behind the disagreement still prevails. In this episode, we'll explore flexible influence, or the ability to move and still remain ourselves. Our psychological outlook is supported by the definition of healthy concession as the ability to change a behavior and not our core need or identity. What we want to avoid when reaching for concession is abandoning what matters to keep connection. A healthy concession implies modifying the form while protecting the function. For example, when we need reassurance, an unhealthy approach is to stop needing reassurance. A healthy concession is, we can find a way you can reassure me that also works for you. This distinction alone solves about 60% of recurring relationship conflicts. We'll go through the negotiation theory, family systems therapy, and the acceptance and commitment therapy. Our programming skills, however, will be extended through the three main strategies for ensemble learning: bagging, boosting, and stacking. As we've noted in our previous episodes, ensemble learning methods join the performance of multiple algorithms. Ensemble learning models can be included in the following families. Bagging, separating values from preferences. Bagging splits training data into subsets, trains models independently, and combines results through voting for classification or averaging for regression. Acceptance and commitment. Therapy challenges us to separate values and preferences through the following test. Values describe non-negotiable directions such as respect, honesty, or care. Preferences include negotiable expressions, timing, method, style. Healthy concessions occur at the level of preferences, not values. So, you can compromise on how, but not on what it means about your worth. If after a concession you feel smaller, anxious, resentful, you likely conceded a value, not a preference. Bagging follows the exact separation, working with the following key parameters: N estimators, or the number of base learners; max samples, or the number of training samples per learner; bootstrap, or whether to sample with replacement; base underscore estimator, or the weak learner corrected by meta underscore learner and N underscore jobs for parallel computation. To see them in action, we'll focus on a classic relationship mistake: judging the entire relationship based on one moment. Instead of reacting to a single episode, we evaluate patterns. N underscore estimators, the number of base learners. In relationships, this is the number of reference points we use before drawing a conclusion. Do we judge the relationship based on one bad evening or many interactions across time? Max underscore samples, the amount of data each learner sees. Each learner only sees a subset of experiences. In life, this reminds us that every argument happens inside a context. Instead of evaluating only the conflict, we also include their stress level, recent life events, physical exhaustion, and competing responsibilities. Remember, however, context is not excuse, but it is information. Bootstrap, sampling with replacement. Bootstrapping means some experiences appear repeatedly in training. Psychologically, this mirrors emotional memory bias. Our brain reuses certain memories to interpret new situations. If someone was abandoned in the past, their mind repeatedly samples from that data set. So a delayed reply becomes, not "they're busy," but "I'm about to be left." Healthy concession requires recognizing when you are reacting to history rather than the present partner. Base underscore estimator, the weak learner. In relationships, the weak learner is our immediate emotional interpretation, the first story we tell ourselves. These interpretations are not useless, but they are incomplete. Bagging teaches, don't eliminate your feelings, aggregate them with reality. N underscore jobs, parallel processing. Bagging runs processes simultaneously. Psychologically, this is our ability to hold multiple truths at once. I felt hurt, and they didn't intend harm. Emotional maturity begins the moment we can process both in parallel. Boosting, the dream. Underneath boosting implies training models sequentially, each correcting the last. Its dynamics remind us of a powerful pattern discovered by John Gottman. Many recurring conflicts are not about logistics, they are about symbolic meaning. So, one partner arguing about time, money, holidays, or communication frequency is often actually protecting security, freedom, respect, or belonging. Healthy concessions happen when both people identify the dream underneath. Once the dream is acknowledged, flexibility becomes possible without either person feeling erased. Boosting resembles to the exact process through which the actual needs are identified beyond the issues raised. Boosting works with the following parameters: the number of estimators or weak learners, a learning rate which shrinks each new model's contribution, the base estimator or the weak learner we used, the max depth, min sample split, or the model complexity control, the subsample or what are we focusing on, the loss function to optimize. Let's go through each: n estimators, or the number of weak learners. In conflict, these are the conversations required before real understanding appears. First talk, positions. Second talk, frustrations. Third talk, vulnerability. Often couples think, if we need to discuss this again, something is wrong. Boosting says the opposite. Repetition is not failure. It is the learning process. Learning underscore rate or size of each correction. The learning rate controls how big each adjustment is. In relationships, this equals how fast we try to solve the issue. A high learning rate implies forcing resolution, demanding immediate reassurance, or pushing for closure. A low learning rate, on the other hand, brings gradual adjustment, emotional digestion, safety building. Many conflicts worsen not because the issue is large, but because the pace is too fast for one nervous system. The base underscore estimator, or the weak learner we used. This would be the first explanation we attach to the other person's behavior. The max underscore depth, mine underscore samples underscore split, or the model complexity control. Describing complexity tolerance, these parameters control how detailed the model becomes. Psychologically, this reflects how deep we are willing to go. Some partners want quick behavioral fixes, others need emotional meaning addressed first. Healthy concession requires matching solution depth to emotional depth. The subsample, or what are we focusing on? Boosting sometimes trains only on part of the data. In life, this means focusing on the current issue, not the entire relationship history. For example, we're discussing texting frequency, not the argument from last Christmas. Subsample protects repair from derailment. The loss function to optimize. The loss function defines success. Are we optimizing for being right, emotional safety, long-term stability? Two partners can argue endlessly simply because they optimize different loss functions. Healthy relationships optimize for mutual security rather than individual victory. Stacking, negotiation psychology. Stacking, stacked generalization, trains different models and uses their predictions as inputs for a final model called a meta-learner. Such duality reminds us of a crucial principle introduced by Fisher and Urey. Be soft on the person, hard on the problem. The problem, as well as each other party's interests, become the models. The common goal and the feelings we have for the person in front of us become the meta-learner, which then illustrates healthy concession as we jointly redesign the situation so both needs survive. The K-fold cross-validation method is applied on each base learner model prior to the training dataset. In life, it resembles to separate positions from interests. Key parameters to operate with when using the stacking model include the base learners, the meta-learner, the cross-validation, and the pass-through. Let's see what they teach us by taking communication habits as the issue both parties struggle with. Let's say friction emerges when one party raises the request of a daily text, the interest being in fact the need for emotional connection. Once we negotiate the interest, solutions multiply. We'll now explore how to find a suitable solution. The base learners, or the existing communication patterns and different adjustments tried. The meta-learner, or the final communication pattern, emerged. The cross-validation. Should the approach be applied on any circumstances? For example, checking in from events attended by themselves, or a sign that they got home safe. The pass-through, or whether to include original features alongside base predictions. For example, A person with hectic mornings might miss texting in the morning, but could stay off their phone in your presence. To conclude, dear friends, a concession only strengthens a relationship if three things happen. 1. Your need is acknowledged. 2. Their need is acknowledged. 3. The solution changes behavior. If behavior doesn't change, the concession becomes a sacrifice which will eventually accumulate into resentment. The danger sign is not giving more once, it is being the only flexible person in the system. If one partner always adapts, it stops being a relationship and becomes regulation. People think resentment comes from the other person's behavior. Harriet Lerner observed something subtle. Resentment usually comes from saying yes when the authentic answer was no. So she proposes a rule therapists often use. A good compromise leaves both people slightly stretched, but not internally violated. When it comes to areas on which we should agree, an internal test is asking ourselves, do I feel calmer or quieter? Feeling calm is a key indicator of a healthy concession. In contrast, feeling quiet could be a warning that we might have actually surpassed our needs. The nervous system knows before the intellect. To give clear examples, you can safely concede timing, method, wording, frequency, logistics. However, you should not concede respect, honesty, exclusivity agreements, emotional safety, fundamental life direction. As we learned earlier, we focus on the form and not the content. We don't yield, demand, but invite towards co-designing. Healthy concession language sounds like this. I'm willing to adjust X, but Y is important to me. I can be flexible about how we do this, not about whether it matters. Let's find a version that works for both of us. Structure is negotiable, dignity is not. Especially in romantic relations, a healthy concession makes both people are changed slightly by knowing each other, and neither person disappears.